Okay, this is a video to show you how to set up your AX8 to use it for live gigs, for digital recording. There is a written instructions in the README file that you'll download that covers this as well. I'm going to ask you to forgive me in advance for the poor quality video from my iPhone, but that's the only way I can get it to focus on the LED at this angle, so you're just going to have to accept that, guys. But at least you'll be able to see it, and I know seeing is really helpful instead of just reading a lot of stuff. Backed everything up. We're going to reset parameters, which means it's going to initialize sort of the unit's automatic stuff. So what you want to do for that is you want to go to the right where it says Shift Lock, and you're going to punch that once, and a little light will come on in that button. And then when you hit that Shift Lock, then you go up to the top where it says Store on the left and Setup on the right. All the things on the right are now active. So you click that Setup button, Store button, and boom, you'll get this menu. This is a global setup menu. The little E knob that says NAV underneath it is how you can move around in this setup menu like I'm doing now. Okay, so first go to Utility and then click Enter to enter into it. And you can see there's a contrast page menu. At the top, you'll see along here are different pages that you can go into to see what they do. There's a page button over where we were to start with where it says Lock right above that. So I'm going to click that one. So here's a way to erase presets. You don't have to do that. Here's a status for VU meters. Don't worry about that. I do want you to reset system parameters because I don't know what you've done before this point in your unit, and I need to make sure it's set for factory parameters. So click Enter on that, reset all, okay, boom. Remember, you've backed everything up before, including your system settings, so you can always restore this. If you hit page one more time, it'll tell you which firmware that you're on. Again, there's a way to do that through both FractalBot and AX8 Edit. So now go to where it says Enter and Exit, and I want you to click Exit. Exit, okay? We're going to get out of that. Brings us back to this menu. All right. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to turn your E knob, which next to this, the nav knob, and I want you to pick I/O and hit Enter. This is the input-output part of it, and it lets you do some settings that were going to be essential for us to do. So we click Enter, and the first thing that comes up is this menu, and it'll come up like this. And the instrument pad, I think, defaults to 12, so leave that alone. Don't touch that. The next thing, and this is an important thing, is the Out1, the back jack of your unit, has two output settings, a +4 dBu setting, but it also has, if you turn the A knob alternatively, you can turn it so that it has a -10 BDV setting. All right, so you have a choice to make now. If you're playing live and you're never using the digital output, you leave this on +4, then what you need to do is where it says Out1 main knob off to the right, you can't see it over here, you want that knob to be just under noon, about 11:30, 11:45. That's unity gain. So set that knob so the white is pointing just a little straight up, but a little bit to the left. All the XLR signals that are going to come out of your unit using my TonePack or the factory presets are going to be hitting any kind of mixer board or whatever around -12 dB. They'll average that. They'll be a little above or a little below depending on what kind of amp it is, how much bass content it is, how much harmonic content, how hard you're playing, how soft you're playing, whether you're going to use a boost. But you want to come in at a level that leaves you some headroom to use pedals and things like that. But the main thing you're trying to avoid is digital distortion. If you turn up this knob, this Out1 knob a lot, and you have this set on +4, you are probably going to overload a mixer somewhere. So you want to be careful about that for live setting. Now, I'll tell you what I do. I do it differently. I change this setting from +4 to -10 BV. And then I take the output level knob and I turn it to the max. And that actually gives you the exact same 12 dB average signal out of the XLRs, as well as the digital output if you're going into a recording thing like Pro Tools or Logic. So it's giving you the same thing, but what I like about that is there's no room for error here, or the knob can't move around. boom, I'm set. This thing is now acting kind of like a preamp that's putting out a steady signal. And so all of the loudness that I want to get, I don't want to get it off the front panel of this unit. I want to get it off the stage system, the amp that I'm playing through in terms of the flat frequency monitor on stage. The front of house guy's got control of it. He doesn't have to worry about me turning this up or down in the middle of a show and screwing everything up. So that's the way I do it. The second thing you want to do now that that's done is hit page one more time and you pull up the audio tab. We went from levels to audio. Now, right now, the unit defaults in stereo, which is cool, and you can use this that way in stereo, but I've actually designed everything to be mono. So what you should do here for me is you should turn this A knob and make it say left plus right sum. You want it to be in mono. And this way you can use the out one left going back to a monitor on stage for you, or your power amp and cab if that's what you do. And then you can use the right output one that can go to the front of the house. And it's the exact same signal, split left and right, no stereo spread. And they can then manage it from the front of house from there. So if you use an effects loop or something, you might want to come down to the effects loop here, right here, and then set that potentially into mono as well if you're using this as a mono system. If you're using it as a stereo system, leave it as stereo, and you can leave the first one as stereo, and you can use the additional jacks out. So that's how you set this up. The other thing you want to do now, hit page again. There's some MIDI controls here. Hit it again. You're going to see this controller button. One of the things you can do that's really cool, a lot of people don't realize, is you can assign your input volume or the volume at the end of a preset. There are two different ones. One's how the signal goes into the amp, and the other is at the end of your preset. You don't have to assign those to the MIDI controller here. You can assign it so it goes to a pedal without using a volume block or anything like that, which will save you CPU. And this is what I like to do. So it's just another way to control your volume. You have to go into the back, tell it which pedal you want. You should probably use pedal 2. I have pedal 1 set up. There you go, pedal 2. For the wah-wah pedal, and we'll talk about that now. So next, I'm going to hit the page button again, and here's where you calibrate your expression pedals. So all of the DreamRigs TonePack uses the wah in expression 1. So if you have one expression pedal, if the wah block is in the preset, when you touch that pedal, it's going to turn the wah on and off. But here's where you calibrate it. So I've got it hooked up right now. I'm going to hit enter, and look what happens. As I do this and I move my pedal back and forth, you can see it's moving, it's calibrating it, how far low and how far high that particular pedal goes. So now when I click enter, I'm done. I've calibrated it. That's it. And then I'm going to click exit. And then the last thing I want to show you is the global menu. So once again, I go to my little nav button E, and I go up to global and I click enter. So there are some settings here that you're going to want to look at the manual to figure out whether you want to use them or not. I leave the power amp modeling on because this preset pack is designed for flat range response speakers. It's not designed for using it with a power amp and a real cab. If you do that, these are the kind of things you need to look at. You can also turn the spillover on. And what's cool about that is that if you do that, you can turn it for delay or for reverb or for both. So you get choices. If you switch from one preset to the other, it'll keep the delay tail or the reverb tail from the prior preset going until that decays as you go to the next preset. So check out the manual and see what those things do. Also, there's a foot switch setting here, but the reality is you can use the AX8 edit software to adjust these, and we are going to do that a little later. Then when I hit page again, and page one more time, as we're going to skip over that setup stuff. These are global output EQs, and these are really, really useful for fine-tuning your system in terms of playback. For example, there really isn't a lot of guitar stuff down at 31 hertz. So you may want to literally just dump all of 31 hertz, just pull it all out. Conversely, there's not a lot of guitar signal way up at 16K either. So you may want to dump all of 16K as an example and just pull it all the way out. If you think that you've got a lot of bottom that keeps bothering you, you might want to come here to 63 and maybe pull out, I don't know, 2 or 3 dB there. A little bit goes a long way though. If you're not getting enough highs, you might want to boost a little bit of 4K, like literally less, half a dB, or pull it back half a dB. It's usually better to cut than to add. But this is a place where you can also fine tune your output 1 if that's going out to your speaker cab in back of you or your flat frequency thing, and you want that to sound a certain way. You also have an output 2, which you could send to front of house, and you can EQ that differently. So that's really, really, really useful. As you fine tune your system for live rigs, you know, get rid of stuff, frequencies you don't need. If you don't feel like you're getting enough mids or whatever, just add a little bit. Don't add 4 or 5 dB up in this thing. It's just little tiny things, and you'll hear it. It'll move the sound for you. The last thing on this global thing is a global scale menu. I think there might be a bonus preset in here that I've got set up, for example, and there's a whole video on how to do this on my YouTube channel. So that's a little bit of the setups. Now that we've done that, you can click exit. You don't have to hit save or anything. Click exit again, and we're out, and we're done with the hardware setup.